Nigeria's Inspector General of Police, Tunji Disu, has inaugurated an 8-member committee to drive the implementation of state police. This marks a significant step toward decentralizing policing in Nigeria, a move many have long debated as crucial for tackling insecurity. The committee, chaired by Professor Olu Ogunsakin, is tasked with crafting the framework for state policing.
Nigerians have raised concerns about accountability, political interference, and whether state police will truly strengthen internal security and deepen divisions.
On state police, we are inaugurating today has a critical responsibility. Your work will help shape the framework through which state policing may operate in Nigeria in a manner that strengthens rather than fragments our national security system. In carrying out this assignment, your deliberations must be guided by professionalism, objectivity, and a clear appreciation of the unique complexity of policing in a diverse nation like our own. Among other responsibilities, the committee is expected to review existing police models within and outside Nigeria, assess community security needs and emerging risks amongst the country.
This morning on Breakfast Central to help us unpack what this means for Nigeria's security architecture as former Commissioner of Police in Lagos State, Mr. Fatai Owoseni. A warm welcome to you, Mr. Owoseni, and thanks for joining us this morning on Breakfast Central.
Good morning to everyone at the studio.
Now, Mr. Owoseni, you served at the highest level of policing in Lagos State. You were a commissioner. From your experience in the Nigerian police force, does Nigeria's current federal police structure adequately address localized security challenges? Are you for state policing?
Before I will answer that question, let me give you a background. It would appear one is always repeating himself. It's a nation that don't apply institutional memory, which is a key principle of best practices. This issue is not the first time that it's coming up. Aside the 1979 and 1999 constitutions, the 1954, 1960, and 1963 constitutions provided for a multiple level policing structure. And of course, it went up to that till 1957, when the minority and the oppressed community came up to say that the kind of policing system we're using wasn't desirable. And that brought about the 1957 Link Commission to look at the structure that we're going to apply. It went like that up till 1930, and of course, even in the Second Republic, it also came up where it was decided that certain ranks of officers, up to Deputy Superintendent of Police, should go back to their states. And we've been experimenting this. If we have been doing this pre-colonial times up till the First Republic, and now, what lessons have we learned? We're a nation that don't apply lessons learned. But be as it may, the thing is that the structure of the police is not independent of the conflicting political and economic interaction of the society. What makes police function is democracy and rule of law. These are necessary preconditions for effectiveness and accountability. And of course, when we're talking of state police or state policing, there are two different things. State police is different from state policing. Are we talking about the elements that would perform, that will discharge the obligations, the functions of the police? Or are we talking of who controls the police, who has command and control? The thing is also that the command of the police should be situated within the operational person. And while we're having this back and forth, there were examples before. In the Second Republic, we had a situation where a governor of a state, specifically in Anambra State, directed the police commissioner, Bishop Eyitene, to deploy policemen, additional policemen to the government house and attach the list of the policemen to be deployed. And the thing went up to the Supreme Court, where it was said that, look, you can't have the authority over the police, but when it comes to operational command, give it to the professional. If you see that, if you are saying that, oh, you needed more security in the government house, leave the commissioner of police to do a threat analysis, determine the number of policemen to be posted, not for you as a governor to say that I want additional policemen and I want the policemen to come from my ethnic group, and you attach the list. So this is why we have been having this. So what am I saying is that the most important thing is that we must know why we even want this structure to be changed. But be as it may, the president has voiced it out that it is an idea that the time has come. And if it is an idea that the time has come, let us look at all these past records. How do we situate it? Have we overcome those challenges that gave rise to having a centralized policing system? And one of the issues they will be looking at, if you have the state police, are you going to recruit only the indigents of the state? Or you are going to say residents of the state? These things matter. It's an idea that the time has come. The president has voiced it out. The Inspector General of Police has no choice other than to do what he did yesterday. And of course, it is a commendable, move to say, okay, we are putting these people together who have the experience. The Professor Ogunsakin that is chairing the thing, is part of his first contact with our policing system is me when I was in the Police Service Commission. He came from on a duty with the DFID on Justice for All program. So he has extensive, background and experience, and the police officers that joined him. So the IG has read out, what their mandates should be. So let them come up with their mandates. They will marry it with whatever the National Assembly is going to do, and let's look at how the framework is going to be. No one can say, whether you support or you don't support. Once the president, as the chairman of the police council, because the police council administered the police, not command of the police, but administration of the police. And the police council is made up of all the governors of the federating states and the chairman police service commission. So once the chairman of the police council has said, this is the agitation, this is what Nigerians want, let us go ahead. He has, taken the right steps. He has put up the committee. They will come up with whatever, marry it with whatever the National Assembly is going to do to put into our constitution. But I must also say that it is possible to have all these things without give it a try, without even amending the Constitution. The Police Act is a product of the Constitution. In the Police Act, you have a situation where even if your station wants to have its own police, you can't have it. That is what is called supernumerary police. If your station decides to say they want to have their own police now, they will apply, they will have supernumerary police. Supernumerary police have the same powers with the police, except for the kind of weapon they carry. And when people talk of that as well, in terms of weapon, modern policing is not just about carrying, rifles everywhere. There are gadgets, there are technology to be used. So our law has already provided. That is why all the oil companies, you see police there, they are supernumerary police, and they are controlled by the chief executive of those companies. So if your station decides to have the police today, they will apply, they will have supernumerary police who has the power of policing, but within your entity. And that is exactly what they're talking about this state police thing. But, we'll continue to discuss it. Police will continue to remain topical. But the basic line, as General Aguirre said, as head of state, when they were setting up, inaugurating the 1957 Willing Commission, is that the police is a critical institution which should not be subjected to the power of one person and made, to get involved in politics. The police, whoever that is there, should remember that the obligation is to the constitution of this country and is to the people of Nigeria. That is when police can be made accountable. When your democracy is strong and the rule of law is strong, you would have, an effective and accountable police.
Okay, I mean, you said you've broken it down with a whole lot of points here. I don't know if we'll be able to dissect them all. So many layers to look into, from the weapons down to the states. You mentioned the rule of law, which inadvertently forms the major problem. And that problem, I call it a problem because that's where the fear comes in. Nigerians are worried that when you introduce state police, the police will become tools in the hands of especially the politicians, as already we can see what's going on, how the police are tied to each of them, how they carry out things that, like you also mentioned, are not within the rules of the law. So how valid are these fears, especially coming from Nigerians, and what safeguards must be put in place? I'm hoping that maybe in some time, my spirit tells me that you may also be called to also be part of this committee if care is not taken. But it would be nice to hear your thoughts on how valid these fears are from Nigerians.
They are genuine fears. And like I said, these fears have been expressed pre-colonial times that gave birth to that 1957 Willing Commission, that also gave birth to the Police Council and the Police Service Commission. And when that was discussed, the main point is that if you have a police council, that you have all the governors of the federating state as members, that the governors are representative enough for each of their states, and they have the mandate of the people in their state. So they are bringing it forth. If the police council had functioned the way it was envisaged, I keep on saying it, we must be able to say some truth. If you have a police council that should administer the police, and it is only when an inspector general of police is going to be appointed that the meeting is convened, then that means that council is not functioning. The council should meet regularly. Maybe they will set it up. It's a constitution. It's one of the most powerful organs set up by the Constitution. They should probably meet periodically, maybe quarterly, maybe biannually, or something like that, to discuss some of these issues. Because the governor can even write, if you have a police council properly set up, to say that this insecurity in my state, President, I want it to be in the agenda. We want to discuss it. And once it functions properly, you'll be able to, run the police properly. Because if you don't run it properly, it will be difficult to administer the police. And that is why also it is put in the Constitution. It's a constitutional matter that police commissioners are not posted to any state by the Inspector General of Police. It is the Police Service Commission that the Police Council and the law delegated that to. So that is to say that if you are posting a commissioner of police to any state for state commands, you should have the input of the governor of that state. And it's a constitutional thing. It is not anything that is like an administrative thing. The Constitution made it clear. So it's only the Police Service Commission, that derive that power from the Constitution that post. Inspector General of Police don't post commissioner to the state. So these are safeguards. The law has provided safeguards. Unfortunately for us in this country, we have so many laws that have been made redundant. So, and when you don't, run your country applying extant rules, extant laws and regulations, what you will have is chaos and all these aberrations and absurdity we're having. So the agitations of the people are genuine, and the only way we can, put a safeguard, like I've said before, is that democracy and rule of law are necessary preconditions for having an effective police and accountable police. So even if you have the state police and rule of law is not really granted, you are wasting your time. So if you have a state police and whoever that is going to be in control in the state will choose between what court order or judgment will be obeyed and which one will not be obeyed, we will continue to have this agitation. And I fear if we still not go back to say, let us return back to centralized police. Models have been cited. The first thing people will say is United States of America. Our federalism is different. A federalism that is put up through centrifugal consideration is different from the federalism that is put up through centripetal consideration. So that is why we are different. And in the United States of America, it's not just about state police. They have over 1,000 or 2,000 law enforcement agencies that are integrated. What United States operates is all society policing. So in effect, if you have a state police and you don't also apply all those safeguards that everyone should be involved, we are just joking.
Okay, I mean, you mentioned a number of things. You've made reference to the U.S. and what's happening, the kind of system they run with policing. Let's talk about, you had asked a question, and I'm glad that you've made certain suggestions on the safeguards. You've also established that the Constitution already provides safeguards, even though your concerns are with regards to how well or how ready people are to obey what the court says, how we really are subject to the rule of law. But you had asked a question earlier that when it comes to state policing, how is that going to run? Are we going to only recruit indigents? I want you to please, shed further light on that and your own recommendation and how that will work.
You see, why I mentioned that is just like the minorities came up in 1957. If you have a state police, let me take my state or your state as an example now, and you have all members of that police to be only indigents of your state. How then would you say your state police is performing? Because you have different ethnic groups, different tribal groups, different religions in your state. So you have to balance it. For example, without prejudice, we have an Amotekun now. And in Amotekun, it's mainly indigents that are recruited. And I used to say, if you have only indigents, there are some people that have lived in this Ibadan before I was born, third, fourth generation that have been in Ibadan. And they know the area where they live more than some people that are, indigents of Ibadan. So where you have this structure put in place and you don't, put up a proper framework, are we indigenizing our police? And when I talk of indigenization, are we saying indigenous state police? So if you do that, the minority tribes that live in your state will kick to say we don't support this. And that is why the police is a delicate institution. That is why we always say that the police that we join, you don't affiliate with any tribe at all. The police don't do affiliation. In the days that we were in the police, we will not get to the office of the DPO and identify him first as probably an Ibadan man or your man. But sadly, you have a police now where even up to the rank of commissioner and junior ranks, they will go and take the title from their community and they will put the picture in their office. So if I'm the inspector general or the chief police officer for Oyo State now, and I display the picture of how I'm a chief in Ibadan, if Ibadan people are fighting with Ogbomoso or Oyo people or Shaki people, the first thing that will come to their mind is that, oh, we got to his office and the first picture we saw is him being, given the title of Magaji in Ibadan or whatever. So we will continue to have this agitation that will be coming up. So that is where the framework, and that is the framework is important, and that is why the step took by IG yesterday is also important, because I would believe that the committee that is set up will look at all this to come with a proper framework that will not make us to go back and say, oh, all these agitations we are doing is not going to work for us. So that is what I meant by that.
Now, Mr. Owoseni, one of the biggest elephant in the room is funding, because that's been the bane of the current Nigerian police force in its present structure. How is that going to work out, since it's a major concern? States already struggle to pay salaries of civil servants, and how realistic is it for them to provide a police force and sustain a professional one at that? And also the chain of command, where does the IG come in, and all the other complicities? But let's take it one at a time. Let's talk about funding.
You see, at the moment, when you want to talk of funding, policing is one of the most expensive venture. No one, set of body of institution can fund the police. At the moment, most of the state governors are doing, fantastically well when it comes to funding. I could say that in Oyo State now. I got here as Special Advisor on Security in 2019. The kind of investment that the state as a state has put into funding the police, I don't think it's up to what the federal government has actually given to the police in the state. It is the state that bought vehicles, patrol vehicles, for all the divisional police officers, the police officers, and the area commands, including the patrol vehicles. At the moment, most of the commissioners of police, which is very sad, for the past 3-4 years, don't even have an official, operational card that is attached to their office. It's the states that provide for that. Or in order to check this, there was a committee that was set up at the time on the revamping the police, the Damadami committee. There was a Fatai Owoseni committee. All these things were addressed there, and that was why the idea of the model of having a police trust fund came up. Lagos State pioneered that. And everyone knows that Lagos State Security Trust Fund has done fantastically well. Oyo State was the second one to set it up. So it is to address that funding thing. But how well is the police trust fund at the national level, operated? It's the way it is being operated now. It doesn't seem as if it is running the way it was envisaged. When that the committee, the Damadami committee, the Fatai Owoseni came up with the idea of a police trust fund. What was put there is that each of the state of the federation corporate bodies will contribute into a pot. If Oyo State contributes, say, 1 billion naira, that 1 billion naira should be spent on the infrastructure of the police in Oyo State. I'm not too sure that is why they are running it now. So there are some states that are viable, but at the same time, it is not until when this becomes operational that we know whether each of the states has the capacity. Some of the states may not have the capacity, but for the sake of everyone is mouthing it, we want state police, we want state police. All the states want state police now. How well they will be able to handle it, how well they will be able to fund it, still remain a question. It is not until when you try. Let us put our leg in the water first before we know whether it is cold or warm or something like that. So it's going to be a challenge. But funding the police, what even makes the police in Nigeria different from the police elsewhere is the issue of how you provide for them. We know that the welfare of the police at the moment is more or less zero. The present government is trying to address that. When you see police in the UK and the US, you will see them looking heavy. What is making them looking heavy? The gadgets they pack on their body. Here, what you see is a scarecrow. So, I'm sorry to use that language. So the essential things are not provided, and it's because of this funding challenge. I was at your station, and I mentioned it. If you have a police station where if you go there as a complainant, it is the IPO or the DPO that will go and think in his head, how do I get the diary with which I will write this complaint? How do I get the statement form that I will give this complainant? If you leave that to the investigating police officer or the DCO or the IPO or the DPO, how will the police perform? If you have gone to a police station to report, to say that something is happening, you are in Ikeja, something is happening in, say, Maryland, there is no vehicle to move them there. Unlike in some other places, the vehicles are there, Boku. If you make any complaint in some of those countries, you will see the number of vehicles that will come there. Here, a policeman will be charged a constable to arrest 40 persons. In some other countries, it is 40 persons that we respond
we can only imagine, I mean, all of these challenges and instances, and we're looking to see how the current IGP will solve them. Unfortunately, we're out of time. Would have wanted to delve into the situation that's going on with insecurity in Nigeria. You were a former commissioner in Benue State and the likes, but I guess we'd have to invite you personally again, maybe to the studios this time, so we can have a more robust conversation. Thank you so much for your time, by the way. And we look forward to see what the IGP will do concerning state policing. Thank you once again.
Thank you.